Football used to be a man's game, a world where legends were forged in their late 20s, where experience meant everything, and where teenagers were told to wait their turn. But not anymore. And Gavi at Barcelona to Jude Bellingham at Real Madrid, and from Warren Zaire-Emery at PSG to Alejandro Garnacho at Manchester United, the era of teenage dominance has arrived. But what's driving this revolution? Is it pure talent, financial desperation, or the evolution of modern football itself? Across the top leagues of Europe, the average debut age is falling faster than ever before. Clubs that once hesitated to field players under 21 are now handing multi-million-dollar contracts to 16-year-olds. Scouts and directors are gambling on potential, not experience. In the Premier League, Arsenal and Chelsea have built their futures on youth. In La Liga, Barcelona's identity depends on the next generation. In Germany, Borussia Dortmund continues to operate as the global factory of teenage stars. But this isn't just a footballing trend. It's an economic strategy, a survival mechanism, and a psychological shift in how the game measures value. Because in the modern football economy, where superstars demand astronomical wages and clubs are chained by financial fair play, youth isn't just exciting. It's essential. Think about it. The cost of signing an established world-class player like Mbappe or Haaland can exceed 200 million euros in transfer fees alone, plus hundreds of thousands per week in salary. For most clubs, that's financial suicide. But a teenager from their academy? That's nearly free. And if he explodes, he becomes a financial goldmine. Players like Bellingham, who joined marketing magnets and resale assets. When Borussia Dortmund sold him, they didn't just lose a player. They proved a model. Buy young, develop fast, sell high. That model now runs European football. But there's another reason clubs are all in on teenagers: adaptability. The modern game demands a type of athleticism and tactical intelligence that older players struggle to maintain. Pressing systems, positional play, and high-tempo transitions require lungs of steel and minds that learn fast. Coaches like Pep Guardiola and Xavi prefer molding young players into their systems before bad habits set in. The result? Teenagers like Rico Lewis, Pedri, and Musiala not only survive in top-tier football, they dominate it. However, this obsession with youth isn't without danger. For every Bellingham or Yamal, there's a dozen prodigies who fade away under pressure. The spotlight burns bright, but it also burns fast. When 16-year-olds are hailed as saviors of multi-billion-dollar clubs, the psychological toll can be brutal. Social media amplifies every mistake, pundits dissect every touch, and fans demand instant greatness. It's easy to forget they're still kids, balancing fame with unfinished childhoods. We've seen it before. Bokan Krikic, Freddie Adu, Martin Odegaard in his early years. Players once called the next Messi who struggled under impossible expectations. Yet even with that risk, the system keeps repeating itself, because financially, it makes sense. Clubs are no longer just football teams. They are global corporations, managing brand equity as much as player performance. And in that world, a teenage prodigy who trends online brings more long-term value than a veteran who performs quietly. TikTok highlights, Instagram reels, and social buzz around players like Yamal, Gavi, or Garnacho aren't accidents. They're part of the strategy. Fans engage with potential more than they do with consistency, and clubs know it. They're not just building teams, they're building narratives. But what happens when these teenagers fail? When the gamble doesn't pay off? That's where the darker side of this youth revolution begins to show. Clubs, desperate for financial stability, can discard young players as quickly as they sign them. Promises of fame turn to rejection, and many careers die before they even begin. The pressure to make it by 18 has created a ruthless system where youth is both a blessing and a curse, your greatest strength and your most fragile weakness. Yet even with all the risks, the results are undeniable. Football is faster, more technical, and more intelligent than ever before. These teenagers aren't just surviving in elite football, they're redefining it. When Pedri orchestrates Spain's midfield at 19, or when Jude Bellingham carries Real Madrid's attack like a seasoned veteran, They prove that the age of experience has given way to the age of evolution. Modern training methods, analytics, nutrition, and tactical education have accelerated development to the point where an 18-year-old can perform at the level of a 28-year-old from a decade ago. But maybe the most fascinating part of this phenomenon is what it reveals about us, the fans. We are addicted to potential, to the promise of witnessing greatness from the very beginning. We don't just watch football anymore, we follow careers like stories, investing emotionally in their rise. And in a media-driven age, clubs have learned to monetize that emotional investment. That's why teenage signings aren't just tactical choices, they're marketing moves, emotional hooks to keep fans connected. The deeper you look into this phenomenon, the more it becomes clear that Europe's obsession with youth is not just a tactical or emotional trend, it's an entire economic revolution reshaping football's foundation from the inside out. The shift toward youth is rooted in financial survival, globalization, and the relentless pace of modern entertainment. Clubs no longer just compete for trophies, they compete for attention, relevance, and sustainability. And in that war, young players have become both the soldiers and the currency. Look at Barcelona, a club once buried under billions in debt, now rebuilding its empire around 16-year-old Lamine Yamal and 20-year-old Gavi. Their youth academy, La Masia, isn't just a training ground anymore, it's a lifeline, a factory designed to save the club from collapse. By elevating homegrown stars, they avoid transfer costs, build fan loyalty, and regain global buzz. This isn't accidental. It's calculated survival masked as football philosophy. Real Madrid follows the same logic, but on a global scale. Their new Galacticos aren't world-famous veterans anymore. They're teenagers like Bellingham, Endrick, and Arda Güler. Each signing is a chess move for the next decade. Each young face a financial asset that grows in value every time they step on the pitch. Florentino Perez has realized something the rest of Europe is now copying. In the digital age itself is a marketing tool. A 19-year-old star generates far more engagement, sponsorship interest, and global conversation than a 29-year-old veteran. Not because of performance, but because of potential. The illusion of what they could become is more profitable than what they already are. This is the psychology of modern football economics, and it's rewriting the rules of how clubs invest, communicate, and dream.